Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I am here with a book haul. Not as big as the last one, but still a good sized book haul here. So let's just get on into these books. The first book I have that I got is Through the Snow Globe, and this is by Annie Raines. This is not one that I had ever heard of. Picked it up, I believe, at a Walmart. The synopsis just sounded very interesting and not what I thought it was going to be, and I'm a sucker for anything holiday themed, so very excited to read this come this Christmas season. Hopefully I'll like it. If you're interested to know more about it, you can go on Goodreads, but I think it'll be a solid cozy read. So alright, and the second book I picked up was Don Quixote. I don't know how to say the second part. Miguel de Cervantes. Did not do Spanish. This is by Miguel de Cervantes. This is a classic. I'm sure you've heard of the horseman and the windmill story. A couple people on Booktube here talked about this book and how just hilarious and wonderful it was. I can't remember who it was. I'm apparently I'm really good at names if I meet you in person, but I'm apparently not the best at names and stuff like that if I don't personally know you. So I think it was Caroline something. I don't know, but I already wanted to read this anyway, and it really intrigued me and made me want to actually look for it. So I looked for it, and this is I really like this cover, but this is a chunker of a book, and I was like, wow, I'm really just trying to kill myself here a little bit, but yeah, I'm excited for it nonetheless. That is a classic. And the third book is actually another classic, another pretty big chunker. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, I believe. I believe that is correct. This is another classic. A good old friend of mine, this was one of her favorite books, I believe, in high school growing up and stuff, and she recommended it to me. And it was one of those books that I was oh yeah, I totally want to read that. I totally want to get it. And just every time I would go book shopping or anything like that, I would completely forget about looking for it. So this time I did not forget about it. I was because I was over there looking for some other classics and stuff, and I was ooh, I should look for the Count of Monte Cristo. So I'm really glad I looked for it. I'm really glad I got it. I'm very excited about it, and I also really like this cover. But this is another, not quite as chunky as the last one, but another pretty chunky one. You know, it's over 500 pages, so my am I trying to kill myself comment was, yeah, because I picked up two of these right next to each other, and I was So this other one is oh, how long? Oh my gosh, this is over 1,000 pages. I don't think I've ever read a book over 1,000 pages, actually. This will be an accomplishment for me when I read it then. Alright, and the fourth one we have is not a classic. It is a historical romance, I believe, and this is going to be my first by Kristin Hannah. She's a pretty popular author, I hear. Somebody recommended The Winter Garden to me, and I got it from the library. I was kind of in a slump at the time, though, and I couldn't get into it. I was starting to get into it, but I'd already renewed the book 3 or 4 times, so I just gave it back, and now I haven't been able to get my hand on it. They did have The Winter Garden, but it was insanely expensive, and I did not want to get it, so this was pretty cheap. And so I figured, let me dip my toe in on a shorter and cheaper little novel, and this is Waiting for the Moon by Kristin Hannah. I can talk right. I believe this is maybe one of her older ones. I heard that she did more historical fiction, romance type before she kind of switched over a little bit and got really popular. So I'm excited. I like historical fiction stuff anyway. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. The next one I got is another classic, and that is The Sun Always Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I love Ernest Hemingway. It seems weird though to say I love Ernest Hemingway because I have only read The Old Man and the Sea, but I love The Old Man and the Sea, and I love his writing style in that. So I was really wanting to pick up another Ernest Hemingway, and I really didn't care what Ernest Hemingway it was. I basically looked for the nicest cover that was also the cheapest, because I am a bargain buyer when it comes to pretty much everything, but you know, especially my books. I don't hardly ever buy anything full price, ever, although my husband bought me all these books, so thanks honey, love you. But yeah, this one I have no idea what it's about at all. I am just excited to read another Ernest Hemingway, so, and a very pretty copy of it. And that one is not like a you're gonna be killed by the mass of the book. All right, another one that I picked up I am very excited about. I feel like some other people might be too, because it is a Stephen King book, and this is Misery by Stephen King. I haven't read any Stephen King. I'm not really like a horror buff at all. I don't do anything too scary, but I know the premise of this book, and I thought that this is kind of like more in like creepy type of tones, and I felt like it would be more my vibe than like I'm not gonna read it, guys. I'm not gonna do it. Not for me. But this one I feel like I might like. So I got this one, and I'm very excited about this one. Very excited. So we'll see. We'll see. I might do a reading vlog of reading Stephen King for the first time since I've never read him. We will see. So, and the next book I got, this one I'm a little worried about, guys. Just a little. I'm a little worried. We'll see. And that is The Noise. And this is by James Patterson and J.D. Barker. This is a thriller, and this book is literally compared to Michael Crichton, which love Jurassic Park. Like, that is a like horror thriller, and like probably the only like horror-ish book I've ever read, but it is like horrific. Wonderful book. So, you know, that intrigued me, and the whole premise of the book intrigued me too. It says, it talks about like these two kids, and then when they're suddenly overcome by a strange vibration rising out of the forest, building into a deafening crescendo of screams. From out of nowhere, their father sweeps them up and drops them through a trapdoor into a storm cellar, but the sound only gets worse. It just... So I'm hoping this isn't too scary for me. If it is, then my husband will read it and it'll be fine. It won't have gone to waste, but I am excited. I do love thrillers, and the fact that he was like, this book in particular was referenced with Michael Crichton's writing, and I love his writing. I'm hoping I'll like it. We'll see. It's definitely a good autumn read here. And the next one I got is also a thriller. And this one is called These Silent Woods. It's a novel by Kimi Cunningham Grant. It says, off the grid, everything to lose and nowhere left to hide. This one, like, the cover just like really caught my eye. Very pretty cover. And, you know, like I said, I'm a thriller fan. I like thrillers and mysteries and stuff. And this one is actually set in the Appalachian woods, which I was like, my home, like I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, so I was like, ooh, a thriller set there, like that sounds so cool. So that was mainly what drew me in to it, so I'm hoping that it's good. I haven't heard of this one at all from anyone, so I will let y'all know. It literally says at the top here, no electricity, no family, and no connection to the outside world. It sounds good. I think it's gonna be good. We'll see. All right, and the next one, we have another classic. And this is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is by Jules Verne. This is, first off, an absolutely gorgeous copy. I don't normally get hardcover. I just prefer paperback because I'm weird like that. But this was a very pretty hardcover copy, and it was very cheap for how pretty it was. It is kind of like small print, but it is a little right under 300 pages, about there, 280 or something. I have read this book when I was younger. I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, probably like around 11 or 12, so I don't remember much about it. So I'm still going to be putting this like on my TBR to read because it's not that recent of a read. And I don't remember a lot about it. So I'm very excited to read this again. Just a beautiful copy. Another classic. And then next we have, this has actually been a pretty hyped up book, so I was a little hesitant to grab it, but I found it for a bit cheaper, and I love thrillers, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab it. And that is The Housemaid. And this is by Freida McFadden. From behind closed doors, she sees everything. This is an interesting premise to me. It's nothing that like crazily like just drew me in like, you know, like no tomorrow, but I have heard a lot of good things about it. Normally I don't go with the hype, but since I found it for so much cheaper than normal, I figured that I'd give it a try. So, all right, and the next book we have is another kind of hyped up and thriller, at least the author is hyped up. And that is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. Again, I found this a bit cheaper, and so I felt like it was worth it. This premise didn't initially like, I had just had to read it. But Haley on BookTube here, almost dropped that in my face. Haley loves Riley Sager, and I really like her channel. And from what she's talked about him, I feel like he would be a thriller author that I would also like. So I was just honestly looking for any Riley Sager book that was cheaper to kind of dip my toe in. And this is what I found. So I'm excited to try it out. All right, and next we actually have a book that is hyped but has been on my TBR for years. It was also one of my recommended books from my like personal like friends and family of the year. I did like a little polling thing and was like, hey, give me recommended books for this year, and I'm gonna try to read one a month, which has not been going very well, but basically like 12 books and all recommended, and this was one of them. And I was like, yes, I've already been wanting to read that book for years, and so I finally bought it. I am gonna read it. No way gonna finish that entire challenge, but I will have read at least a few. And that is The Silent Patient. This is by Alex. I have no idea how you say his last name. I'm sorry. But this has been like around for a couple of years now, and apparently it's sold over 4 million copies. This book has just always intrigued me. Always, and I love thrillers, and I've been wanting to read it for forever, so I bought it. Again, not full price, but not as cheap as I could have gotten it if I like found it at like a thrift place, because I just got it at Walmart for like $10, I think. But I'm excited. I'm just really hoping that this one lives up to the hype and doesn't disappoint me, because it has been on my TBR for a while. So, and the next book that I got, I am so excited about. So excited. And that is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I was just introduced to Sarah Adams a couple months ago because of my friend here on BookTube, Moose Talks Books. She raved about Sarah Adams and being, you know, good closed door and just good romance, and so I picked up a book of hers, and the only one they had at the store was the cheat sheet, and I read it in a day, instantly became a favorite. I was obsessed with it, and I was like, I want more of her writing, so I picked up When in Rome, and I'm so excited about it. I've heard a lot of good things about this one in particular, but honestly, just anything by Sarah Adams, I want to eat it all up. Like, I think all of her stuff is gonna be me, you know. So I'm very, very excited about this. This is also just such a cute cover. It really is. It really, really is. So I'm very, very excited about that. And the next one is also romance. The rest here is romance. And that is the Bromance Book Club. This is by Lyssa K. Adams. I don't know a ton about this, but just the overall premise of a bunch of like husbands and whatnot get together and have a secret book club where they read romance books and learn about how to treat their like wives right and stuff, and like how to woo them and everything and make them happy, is just such a wholesome concept to me. So I am very, very excited to read this book. It's been on my radar for quite a while too, so I hope that it lives up to the hype of what I'm hoping it's going to be. And then our last and final book of the book haul, sadly, is Meant to Be by Emily Griffin. I have not heard of this author, not heard of this book, but I mean, first off, look at how pretty that is. It's got like such a watercolor vibe to it, and it's the art instantly drew me in. I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes it's just so pretty that you can't help but be like, I want that book. So yeah, I know it's a romance. I did read a little bit of the synopsis. I didn't read a ton of it because I don't like to be too spoiled or anything, because sometimes synopses go over into detail. But I'm really excited to check it out. I feel like it's gonna be interesting. I think it's basically like two different like type of like, you know, like people, like one richer and more like well off, and one poorer, and you know, like been working all their life or whatnot, and kind of like intercrossing constantly type of thing. So I don't know if I've read a romance quite like that, so I'm interested. I'm very excited. The cover just gets me. So yeah, those are all the books that we have today that I got, or more so my husband got me all 15 when he's here. Thank you, baby. And I have them in 2 piles here, so yeah, and we have a total of 15 books, I believe. So yeah, very nice little haul. If you like this video, then, you know, hang out, join me for more, and we can be book buddies. All right, bye guys.